Yo guys, this is Anomalous. In this video I'll do a guide for Unholy Death Knight for PvP for the patch 7.2 Legion. Unholy is a very interesting spec, it always has been, and its charm derives from dots, pets and non-direct damage. At the moment Unholy is very viable in every bracket, so now is the time for some serious push. This video will contain talents, honor talents, rotation and some basic tips. I won't be going over artifact traits since it's very easy to max them out now with every path you take. That being said, let's get on with it. As for your primary talents, this will be your build. Cookie cutter all the way. You won't be changing it at all. Additional pet for level 15 does great damage and removes CD for your raised dead. Blighted Rune Weapon gets you that festering wound application so that you can burst a lot quicker. You build it for Soul Reaper and Apocalypse, which I will talk about later. Then you have Clawing Shadows, which will be your festering wound dampener. It's also amazing because it's 30-yard range, so you can kite or rush down a target. Asphyxiate, on-demand stun, GG. Corpse Shield, additional defensive that you will macro with your huddle so that your pet doesn't die insta. Then you have Infected Claws, passive festering wound application through your Ghoul's Claw attack. And finally Soul Reaper, it works a little different than before. You apply it when you have 3 plus festering wounds on a target, then burst them with Clawing Shadows and you will get 21% haste for 15 seconds. You do have some binds here, so you kinda can't face roll with Unholy. I'll talk about rotation later, but now let's get on with honor talents. As for honor talents, you will be swapping some. I go Relentless almost always, cause I'm an orc, but actually all three are viable and the right choice will be different in various situations. You will mainly go Adaptation, in my opinion, but again, that will be your choice, and when you practice more and more, you will get better and better, and you will choose properly. Then you go Reinforced Armor if against healers, if against casters, Sparring if against melee. Hardiness, you can go Hardiness when they want to swap you, when you're not primary target, and when against non-rot cleaves. Then you go Cadaverous Pallor against melee or casters without dots, but it will be always your second choice when facing casters next to AMZ, Anti-Magic Zone. Sim, you go in 2s, maybe in 3s as a skill shot against melee cleaves to steal a spell from their healer. When I say Sim, I of course mean Dark Simulacrum. Then you go Decomposing Aura. Heartstop Aura maybe when you're tunneling a healer. Then Crypt Fever. And with the non-healer setups, you can go Wandering Plague. And lastly, Unholy Mutation, a useful slow since Necrotic Strike is shit and does 0 absorb. Okay, as for rotation, aka spell priority in PvP, you can almost always open with your burst. And why? Because it's on short CD and it will give you a competitive edge if you successfully bring it up, so to say. You open with Outbreak, then Blighted Rune Weapon, then 1 Festering Strike, then Soul Reaper, 3 times Clawing Shadows, then Apocalypse, and then Ghoul. Dark Transformation Ghoul. And then you dump with Clawing Shadows and Death Coil. You also want to use Death Strike to dump Runic Power and heal. So I suggest doing that and mainly use Coil when it procs. Now I'll show you the rotation, and if you didn't understand for the first time, feel free to rewind because it's very important to do damage properly. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we go with the rotation. You open up with Outbreak, then Blighted Rune Weapon, 1 Festering Strike, then Soul Reaper, Apocalypse, Ghoul, and then you dump with your Clawing Shadows. When you don't have Festering Wound, you feel free to hit Festering Strike, but you'll have it for the most time because you have Blighted Rune weapon. You also use your Gargoyle, forgot to mention that, on your burst, and that's it. So one more time, I don't have cooldowns now, but hear it out. So Outbreak, Blighted, one Festering, Soul Reaper, Apocalypse, and then you dump with your Clawing Shadows and Death Coil on your proc. And that's it. Use Orc Thingy if you have it. That's actually it. And that's it for this guide. If you have something to ask me, feel free to do it in the comments below. I hope this guide was useful, and I will see you next time. Peace.